Here we go, guys. This is what you need to know for quiz number 3. 50% of your quiz is going to be converting from standard form to scientific, or from scientific to standard form. So let's go through and do these 4 examples. Find the first number that's not 0 and the last number that's not 0. Basically, it's going to catch all those numbers and you write them out, okay? Always put your decimal after the first number is not 0, and then times 10 to the, let's see here, this number is bigger than 1, so it'll be a positive exponent. Your decimal was waiting right here, and we need to move it over to where we need it to be in the front part of the scientific notation. So it's going to be moved over 6 spots, so it will be 6 for the exponent. Same here, same thing here, even though it's a number smaller than 0. Find the first number that's not 0 and the last number that's not 0. So that's 52, so we'll write out 52 right here. The decimal is always going to be after that first number. Times 10, and since this number is less than 1, it will be automatically a negative exponent. And you've got to count over how many spaces it moves to where you want it, which in this case would be right between the 5 and the 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5.2 times 10 to the negative fifth. Excuse my sloppy handwriting there. Now, convert the following to standard form. Well, when it's in scientific notation, pay attention to the sign of that exponent. Since this is negative, it has to be smaller than 0. And you've only got 2 spots that you can go, only 2 directions. You can go to the right, 5 spots, and that would make it 201,000. Well, since this is a negative exponent, we know that it's got to be less than 1, so we don't go to the right, we go to the left. So we're going to move this decimal over once here to get around that 2, and then we've got to move it 4 more times. So I've got to put on 4 more zeros before I can put that decimal right here. And then go ahead and add on that 0 in front of the decimal. So 2.01 times 10 to the negative fifth is 0.00000201. And make sure that when you've taken the time to rewrite that number, you only have 1 decimal spot there, and it's in the correct spot. Now this one, since it's a positive exponent, we'll put the 1 right here. That means that it's going to be bigger than 1, so I'm going to go to the right, and it's going to be putting the zeros out here to the right. And that would be 100 billion. So that's half your quiz, just being able to convert back and forth. The reason I'm making it half your quiz is that this is considered to be the easiest material in the chapter, and we're still struggling a little bit on what's left, which is adding and subtracting in scientific notation. Remember, when we're adding or subtracting in scientific notation, whether it's adding or subtracting, you got to make sure that the exponents are the same. This is 400, this is 397. So add what you need to on the smaller exponent, and then however many you had to increase it by, we're going to slide that decimal over to the left. However many that we had to increase by. Since we had by 3, we're going to move it over 3 times. So it's going to be 0.0082 times 10 to the, 400th power now. And this is still going to stay the same. And now we just add this front number to that front number. And so our final answer is 4.0082 times 10 to the 400th power. For subtraction, we do the exact same thing. Don't have the same exponent? Okay, change it. So we need to add 1 to this one, so we're going to move this over 1 spot, and this becomes 0.5 times 10 to the 8th power. So now we can take this front number and this front number and subtract them. On subtraction, hey, the first number is being subtracted by the second number. So 1.6 minus 0.5. And then it would be 1.1 times 10 to the 7th power would be your final answer on that subtraction. If it was that straightforward, the adding and subtracting would not be that big of a deal, but here's some tips to help you out. Please make sure when you're doing these that you know whether you're supposed to be adding or subtracting. We had a few people that went straight down and all they did was they added. They got so caught up in the other steps that they forgot to look at the actual sign of, hey, are we subtracting or, adding? And obviously I just said that backwards, but you've done the mistake yourself. I mean, we all have. Just make sure that you don't make that mistake because it's crucial. You can't get it right if you make that mistake. Now, the front number is always less than 10, but it has to be at least 1. So when you look at this number right here, it kind of looks like scientific notation, but this decimal's in the wrong spot. We had to slide it back 1. So to fix it, it would be 1.045. Okay, because it's at least 1, but it can't be 10 or more. And so since I slid it back 1 spot, we've got to add 1 onto the exponent. So this would be 1.045 times 10 to the 5th. Same thing right here. This looks pretty good, except for 12 is too big. So I've got to slide that decimal back, and it would be 1.2 times 10 to the 21st. Because if I slide it back 1 spot, I've got to add 1 onto it. And when you increase an exponent, the decimal moves which way? Well, we increase the exponent right here, and you see the decimal moved to the left.